Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. I must admit, I'm extraordinarily, excruciatingly late in getting all the pieces for the show together. And as we speak, I am still doing it. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Because I know if any mistakes come up here, you guys will be forgiven, or you'll be forgiven of me, I guess is what I should say. Anyhow, we have a great show for you today. Today, we're going to talk about GMO. We're going to talk about Mexico. We're going to talk about Dasha Burns and what becomes of the Republican Party. We have a lot to talk about. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard. Let's start from the top today. Michael Rodman is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. ABQ. We also have Eric Hayes in the house from Atascocita Kingwood. We also have E2247 in the house from all over. We also have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. And bringing up the rear is Lee Grant from Montgomery County. But I'm sure we'll have more people joining the floor, like Bruce Pollard, who's in the house. Bruce Pollard is in the house. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. I have an outtake from this morning that I want to do on the GMO. But beforehand, I also have a piece that I want to do that I just processed. And that is the state of the Republican Party. And Breach MCP has given us the honor of her presence as well. How you doing, beautiful? I trust that you're slowly moving back into what we call in Panama, estás entrando la ola de nuevo. Thank you so kindly for being here. Anyway, folks, we got a great show for you today. Beforehand, I want to thank all the folks at KPFT this morning who were generous in ensuring that I made my KPFT quota. So I'm thankful to all the good people who continue to support Politics Done Right at KPFT. Of course, everything that I make at KPFT goes to KPFT to make sure that great station stays afloat. But also, we need to make sure this independent media outlet, which is not just radio, but much more than radio, blogs and articles and books and videos, etc., stay afloat. So please be so kind as well to, just as you support me at KPFT, those who can support here at Politics Done Right by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. Eric Hayes say KPFT finder's fee. Eric, you're a KPFT guy. Thank you. So is Bruce. So is I think Lee Grant as well. Yes, I know Lee Grant. We have a lot of overlap here, which is a good thing. Because it means that we're multi-platform and all that good stuff. So anyway, I'm very happy with what we've been accomplishing so far. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm going to start early with Michael says, The Guardian, House Democrats launch investigation into Trump's alleged offers to oil executives. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee sent letters to oil executives asking about alleged $1 billion quid pro quo offer. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the committee, wrote media reports raise significant potential ethical campaign finance and legal issues that would flow from the effective sale of American energy and regulatory policy to commercial interests in return for large campaign contributions. The reports are correct. Trump most clearly asked big oil for a $1 billion bribe. The Supreme Court, during Citizens United, specifically said that the appearance of corruption required quid pro quo, this for that, and that's exactly what transactional Trump pushed. Yeah, but the Supreme Court is owned by Trump, so nothing's going to come of it, but we need to make people aware of it. That's what we do. Like I told folks at KPFT this morning, we don't need to run scared. We don't need to try to keep getting at Trump. We need to beat Trump. We need to let the American people are going to have to save themselves. We, the people, can't depend on a corrupt court to save us. We can't depend on a corrupt legislature to save us. We got to uncorrupt these systems. And the way we uncorrupt these systems is to vote them out of office before we get extrajudiciary powers that pretty much stops us from executing democratically. So, folks, don't be scared. We have to go out there and beat them. You have to beat them in many ways. You have to beat them at the ballot box. You have to beat them by educating the people who thought they believed in these evil folks. Our job here right here in our chat is to finally get through the heads of folks like Eric Hayes and Mike Sisek and brother Ryan. We have to get into some of these people's heads and let them realize the dangers that a Trump type style government that many other Republicans are speaking about are a clear and present danger. I'm going to play a little piece that talks about the party after Trump in a little bit, but let me continue reading some of the things that you guys have posted. Let's go ahead and read. Today, one of our board of directors at the local station board said, every day we should make mention of what's occurring in Gaza. And I think he's right. The systemic destruction of a people in Gaza has to be talked about. The destruction of infrastructure, the destruction of schools, the destruction of hospitals, the destruction of mostly of people, women, children, men that have nothing to do with terrorism. The constant having people live like animals on a beach, no sewage, no potable water. That is misery compounded. When a few miles down the road, we have Jerusalem and Haifa and Tel Aviv, with people going finely to drink their coffees and live a leisurely life, with a few rockets coming here and there from the people trying to make a statement as the Iron Dome that we protect all these cities with never get them through. Folks, my friend was right. Tori Mercer, you're absolutely right. We need to talk about it. And somebody in our chat always reminds us with the numbers that he brings. Thank you, E2247. And the numbers that E2247 is bringing us today goes as follows. Day 222 since 7th of October 2023. At least 35,233 Palestinians killed, 60 persons more than day 221, at least 79,061 wounded, 80 persons more than day 221, equals 114,374 casualties. If you want to know what that means, 1,014,374 casualties means 515 persons per day of estimated 5,385,012 people is approximately 2% of the West Bank and Gaza Palestinian population, with 35,233 Palestinians killed equals 159 people per day killed. 38% are kids and women. If those numbers don't give you pause, were U.S. to be in the situation of Palestine now, 222 days into genocide by Israel, U.S. has proportional killed and injured a total of 7,145,697. That's approximately 2% of the United States population. Those are prescient numbers. Thank you for putting that out, E2247, over and over again. We need to make a meme of that every day. Maybe I should consider memeing that every day, because there is flesh, bones, and blood behind that. It is antiseptic to talk about it, but it's real. It's antiseptic when we look at the numbers that you're talking about, E2247, but it is real. And I think we should name it day in, day out, day in, day out. Bridge MCP is in the House. She says House Republicans aren't yet done with Cassidy Hutchinson, January 6th. As Republicans drag Hutchinson January 6th experiences back into the spotlight, the GOP doesn't appear to appreciate the political risk it's taken. The endeavor would be led by Representative Barry Loudermilk, a Georgia Republican who faced some awkward questions about a controversial Capitol tour the day before the riot, who told the public that he intended to determine what really happened on Jan 6, indifferent to the fact that we already know what really happened. These guys are not living in a delusion. They're trying to create a delusion. They know better. That is what fascism looks like. That is what it looks like. Doing the evil and then lying about who did that? I killed you, but who killed you? That's what it's all about. Thank you for that, Bridge MCP. Bridge MCP said, wait for debate coming up. New rules like no audience and stop mic when your time is up. Ha! Rump agreed to we shall see. I doubt if he'll accept that. And even if he does, he will run and run from that. Michael Rodin says, Egberto, the only way to uncorrupt the system is during the Democratic primary to vote in anti-corruption candidates. And I agree with you. For most states, that ship passed. The corporate corruption over our government continues to rot and fester. Not completely, because in red states, there are Democrats running who we believe don't have a chance. But if we go ahead and flip the switch, just maybe some of them are going, not maybe, I know some of them are going to get through. Carl Cox says, the American voters need to vote the conservatives out of office, whether they be Republican or Democratic conservatives. I agree with that, Brother Cox. Otherwise, democracy is doomed in America. Michael Rudden says, leak kind of nuts. Conservatives will vote for criminals if they have an R next to their name while espousing law and order. And we have examples of that, right? Right here in Texas, Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is a criminal, stock market criminal. Also, he threatened people in his office, criminal. Also, we can go on and on and on. And he got reelected again. So yeah, you're right about that. We have the evidence to prove it. Okay, let's see. Para ver. Eric Hayes, over 100K died of cartels via fentanyl. True. Now, nobody, and this is where personal responsibility should come into play. There used to be a time Republicans would always use that term, personal responsibility. When during the 60s, the 70s and 80s, and during the 80s when we had all these laws to lock up the crackheads, right? Crack was something predominantly used in the black community. We didn't treat it as these manufacturers of the precursors to crack being the people that we need to execute and kill, and we need to get to them. We simply threw a whole lot of black kids and brown kids into jail. Their drug of choice was crack. Crack, the same sentence for the same amount of crack versus cocaine, which was mostly used by others, was 4 times as much as I recall. So your criminality for using the same amount of crack relative to cocaine, which is by the way the same substance, they threw you into jail, threw the key away. It wasn't an illness then. It was not something wrong. Eric, I don't remember people like yourself saying, we need to go ahead and get the manufacturers of these precursors to crack and cocaine. No different than fentanyl, right? We didn't see that. Nobody was out there trying to say, get those people. We're locking up a whole lot of these other folks. But now, fentanyl is in Appalachia. Fentanyl is everywhere. And it's a drug, cheap drug of choice. And what happens? Oh, now we feel the pain, and we should. But it's amazing the dichotomy. Drugs or something that's initially taken voluntarily, and then your drug becomes your body becomes addicted to it, and you'll do anything to get it. Personal responsibility. That's what you told the crackhead. So the fentanyl head should have personal responsibility for the drugs that they've taken as well. Remember that. Bruce says, so Eric, who is responsible for the fentanyl deaths? The person who took the fentanyl. Thank you, Bruce. Prescient question. And Michael Run said, even if the numbers of dead are half decided, it is still an ongoing genocide. Exactamente, mi amigo. Exactamente. All right, let's continue here. Bruce says, and the big pharma people who got it started? Bruce, my man. Okay, Maywood says, Alan Witt, usual problem with iPad, also have trouble with the, oh, sorry about that, my brother. Mike Kelsey says, internal CBP data I obtained with a FOIA request reveal 13 years of known gotaways data at the border showing gotaways have exploded under. CSEC, I feel so sorry that, well, I'm not even going there. Bruce Pollard said, and some bad people are mixing it in with all other sorts of things. Very true. Very true. Very true. What else we got here? Clamp down on all who make it, and your justification of 1,000 dead is disgraceful and disgusting. Huh? Again, the people responsible for taking fentanyl kill themselves, okay? It was facilitated by supply side economics. We provide a supply to create a demand. That's what Republicans love to talk about, supply side. They love supply side. We believe in demand side. If we believe that wholeheartedly. All right. Michael Rades says has nothing to do with personal responsibility. Most fentanyl overdose deaths are from people who don't know they're receiving a hot dose. Hot dose when you either don't know you're taking fentanyl laced with another drug, or there's more than you were expected to. So, Michael, I must disagree with you. It is still personal responsibility. If you are taking a drug, not a sanctioned drug, one of the results of that could be getting laced drugs. You chose to take a drug that could potentially be laced. I'm not judging the person as being a bad person or not. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying it is personal responsibility. Yale Medicine, why is fentanyl driving overdose deaths? So someone buys from a drug dealer what they think is Valium or cocaine or Oxycontin, but it has a small amount of fentanyl in it. The buyer is unaware. This can cause an overdose because of the individual doesn't have the physical tolerance to fentanyl, even if they have the tolerance for, say, Oxycontin. But again, they chose to get the drugs that way. That is personal responsibility. Now, look, I am for the legalization of all drugs, all. And then for us to humanely take care of people that are addicted. That's how I think we solve the drug problems, and we get a lot of the illicit things out, in my humble opinion. Others have other ideas. A lot of it hadn't worked yet. All right, continuing. Bridge MCP says, social media platforms and encrypted apps extended the cartel's reach into every community in the United States and across nearly 50 countries worldwide. Drug traffickers and their associates use technology to advertise and sell their products, collect payment, recruit and train couriers, and deliver drugs to customers without having to meet face to face. This new age of digital drug dealing has pushed the peddling of drugs off the streets of America and into our pockets and purses. The cartels have built mutually profitable partnerships with China-based precursor chemical companies to obtain the necessary ingredients to manufacture synthetic drugs. They also work in partnership with Chinese money laundering organizations to launder drug proceeds and are increasingly using cryptocurrency. Nearly all the methamphetamine sold in the United States today is manufactured in Mexico, and it's purer, more potent, and in years past. And again, capitalism at work. Capitalism at work. And the thing about it is, like I said, I am not judging any of these people that get involved with drugs at all. I know a lot of people who do. When I was in college, I remember folks coming to my house and doing coke. I would tell them, do to each his own, but do the coke on the outside, please. It's just not my thing. But as far as whether it's bad or good, I don't. I mean, I don't think coke or marijuana or any of these things show any deficiency any different than somebody who drinks alcohol, right? They all alter your state. So why should we look at anybody who takes one drug from another with any sort of disdain? I don't. But I do say the person who drinks alcohol, personal responsibility. The person who takes coke, personal responsibility. The person who buys drugs on the outside without any sanction, with no controls, personal responsibility, in my humble opinion. All right. Let's see. Bridge MCP says my neighbor on off oxy got it laced with fentanyl. He died. He did choose the oxy. Didn't know it was lace. I know he didn't know it was lace, but where did he get it? Right? I imagine it was off. It was gotten from a pusher or something like that. Right? That's a choice. Harry K says politics and right. People who took school loans, choice like your justification of fentanyl. So pay your debt off. Look. That's a very good comparative statement, Eric. I agree with how you said that. The thing about it is, those people who took out the loans, they are still alive. And I'm saying that since I don't agree with the way the loan system has worked, I want us to have policies to forgive them. Okay? It's that simple. If that person who take fentanyl didn't die but got sick, I would want to take care of them. So while the choice question on the surface seems like a congruent argument, it is actually a rather silly argument or a silly rebuttal. All right, Mike Cesek says, ever since California has legalized marijuana, the drug cartels have moved into the state in more rural areas to get up growing operations. I don't have a problem with that. This has resulted in farmers losing out to armed cartel members. When it's legal, you don't have to have armed cartels. That's the idea. Michael Rudden says, Egberto, you won't get any argument from me about legalization. We have to regulate the drug market so that people know what they're taking. I agree. This would take money out of the cartels as they profit from smuggling. Exactamente. That's what I'm talking about, Bridge. I mean, see, different levels of indirection, brother. You nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. Let's see. Bridge says that was DEA. I skipped some. Here is a link. Thank you very much for that, Bridge. Lee Grant says drugs are legal in Portland. Look, yeah, and I think you brought that up to Michael yesterday, and Michael disproved a lot of what was implied. Michael, you can do that again if you so wish. Bruce Pollard said, "Child who chooses." Yep. I mean, look, we have an interesting thing about children, right? We want to hold them accountable for certain things and not accountable for the other things. I'll be very frank. When we grew up in Panama, we knew and I'm not saying people didn't take drugs and kids didn't do this and kids didn't do that, but we were very much schooled about your responsibility is to be responsible. That was hammered into us. And when we talk about the structure we had in Panama, the village. Everyone needs a village. We are controlled by our village. Our village takes care of us. If I went somewhere and did something, I could be scolded by anybody, and I wouldn't go home and tell mom or dad because I would be scolded again more severely. So it's all about culture. It's all about how we raise our kids, even though some may fall through the crack, as we know. But we have to do a better job. Now, our country right now, the United States of America, doesn't lend itself for good parenting because what capitalism has done is in its urge for constant profitability, excess profits, and and growth above and beyond, what it has done is it has taken both parents out of the home to work, leaving children to grow up on their own and not being able to be guided from a village because there's no more village. I live here in Kingwood, don't know my neighbors. I remember when we just moved into the community, and Bruce, you remember that, you were here with me. We would go around in the few houses around us and give a cake or welcome to the neighborhood. You know, Linda has baked so many cakes and passed around in the initial people that moved in. But as the society around us changed, it got very isolated. And now I live in a house with one neighbor that I know for a long time, maybe two. But good guys like Bruce have moved out, and neighbors on all sides have moved out, and the kind of neighbors coming in now, that village is gone. Our kids used to run down the streets and play with each other and defend each other and make sure each other weren't doing bad things. I can recall these girls, you know, I have a girl, Bruce have several girls, down the street have several girls, them playing together and listening into the conversation. They'll come up and play in our game room, and and you'd listen to the conversations and you heard them kind of keeping each other in check. That's gone. That's gone. Anyhow, social media addiction for children. Who is at fault? Again, it's no supervision, Bruce. No supervision. All right, Michael Radney says, do teenagers and young adults know they're gonna be paying double for student loans debts what they borrowed? Don't know. Figure that's not a worthy comparison to people buying drugs from pushers. It's not. Egberto, the cartels are stealing land from farmers. They aren't buying it. Okay. If we know that they're stealing land from farmers, it's not hard at all to take it back, right? It takes a village. Hillary Clinton's book. I remember that, Bridge. I remember that. Eric Case's accountability is gone now, starting 2021 in its new way, with everything from crime to living to health. Again, crime rate is down. You can wish it higher, it's down. Okay? But again, you can't help. You can bring the water, you can't ask the horse to drink it. All right, let's see what else we have. Michael Radin, ever since the 2009 Democratic bill that reformed the student loan system, all college loans are made through the federal government. This means students are no longer able to file for bankruptcy and get rid of student loans. It was Democrats who screwed students over. No, it wasn't. It was. Let's be clear here. All right. Student loans you could never get from under, and even it's a private loans, kind of like student loans that you could get under. But that's another story. You're simply wrong in that analogy, Mike Cisak. Completely. What the federal government did by bringing under Obamacare, bringing the student loan under its domain, is prevent bankers from taking no risk as they foreclose on kids. Let's get it right. You missed the point completely. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, I tell you what. Let me go ahead and We come low trust. I don't understand that, Lee Grant. CSEC, you're absolutely wrong. You're not just wrong. You're absolutely wrong. When we had the private sector inside of the student loans, what actually occurred is bankers, if the student defaulted on the banks, the federal government still made the private banks whole. Still, they charge high interest rates for these loans or to administer the government loans. Please, the bankers do what bankers always do. They're parasites. Look it up. It's not something you can't find. Okay, we've become low trust. Okay, I got you. All right, let's listen to what happened to the Republican Party here, and then we'll take it on the other side, my brothers and sisters. In this short clip, MSNBC correspondent Dasha Burns asked a present question about the Republican Party after Trump. And it's important. I want you to listen to this, and then I want you to listen to a short snippet of what Charlie Dent, former Republican congressman as well had to say. Check this out, and then we'll listen to hear it on the other side.
This begs the question for me, which I often wonder, especially after I talk with voters, because Trump has engaged so many people in this way. We haven't seen a candidate do in a long time. But what is the Republican Party after Trump? What does it look like after Trump? Because so much of the infrastructure has been built around him. So much of the ideology has been built around him that once he's gone, no one is Donald Trump. No one can replicate that. And so what does the Republican Party come to stand for when you've brought on in all of these new voters, but really on the basis of what one man has done? Where do you go from there? That's a good question, Charlie.
But that's partly why we set up this Republican Legacy Initiative, because we want to talk about the party after 2024. What are enduring principles? I mean, like, for example, on free markets. I mean, Republican Party right now, at least under Donald Trump, it's all about high tariffs and price controls. I mean, it's almost indistinguishable from the Democrats. I mean, there's an issue.
There's an argument that there's no that Republican Party doesn't exist anymore.
Well, no, but I'll tell you what, though.
But there's foreign policy. Look how they've changed on fiscal matters.
I was about to say look, most Republicans, peace through strength, they support allies. They think it would be horrendous to surrender Ukraine to Russia. Plenty of Republicans feel that way. You got to remember, 20% of Republican voters are still voting for Nikki Haley, and she's been out of the race for weeks.
That is such a good point. They're still voting for, even in primaries yesterday.
They're looking for an alternative.
Here is the deal. They picked up on something that's very important, and that is right now Donald Trump is the leader of a cult. The people who support Donald Trump, it doesn't matter what Donald Trump does. There are two groups of people, one that are devout cultists, and the others that will simply want Donald Trump there because of the financial benefits they think they'll get from him, and because of the innate hurt or hate they have for a particular sect of the rest of the American population. So those are two distinct groups. The question is, when there's no more Donald Trump, what happens? And that is what Representative Charlie Dent is asking. What happens? There are some of us Republicans that are trying to build this. Was as Katie told them earlier. Katie Tur said the problem is currently there is no Republican Party, and until that is understood by all, until they get that Donald Trump successfully destroyed everything that was conservatism, everything that was Republican Party, and then simply turned it into a transactional entity for the corporate state, which means it's now will migrate into a fascist entity. And it has nothing to do with values. It has nothing to do with policy. It has everything to do with what this corporation or these corporations or these groups are willing to pay the government for, meaning the politicians, to make sure and effect the will of these people at the expense always of the average American citizen. That is what we are becoming, or that is what the Republican Party has become. And after Trump unleashed it, and then after he leaves, that's a carcass that's going to be left. Unfortunately, that stinking carcass will still have an existence for some time. We better be careful. We better vote right.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
All right, Mike Cisak, Mr. Rudnin gave you the definitive document with dates, with the particular pieces of the law that tells you the different changes in dischargeability of bank loans. That is black and white, that you can go ahead and check yourself. If you continue to argue about that issue with Brother Rudnin and anybody else talking about the dischargeability of student loans, it proves your inability to take facts and completely makes anything that you state, my brother, not only suspect, but generally not worth considering without complete and entire checkmating. Again, at some point, you have to become one who can be swayed by facts. Otherwise, again, the cultish behavior will remain. So as far as I'm concerned, my brother, love you, but you're a cult. All right, let's go ahead and put what Radin put on the screen. I think it's a good thing. Trump's fines and settlements over the years. Oh wow. Let me see what that has to say. 750K antitrust lawsuit, Valley, 750K defamation. Wow. That's a nice list. 453 million business fraud, 392. They try to make it look like Trump has been a fraudster just recently, that we are kind of picking on Trump, right? But this list shows Trump has always been a thug. Look at those fines. He has always been a thug. Trump University, Trump Foundation fraud, Scotland Wind Farm, Trump campaign forced refund to donors. You remember that item that he had, I think it was the bust that he had as well. The guy is just a general purpose thug. And to think that but again, and some people have no problem electing him, and that's fine. That's fine. He's just your general purpose thug. But again, it all depends on, well, we know what that's all about. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael C, 2009. No, the problem. Okay, I got that one already. Bri says, please, Egberto for the screen. It wasn't a witch hunt back then or now. He is a guilty SOB. And we can't argue with that. Oh, that's the same thing that I put up there before. Okay, so that didn't come from Bradden. That came from Bridge MCP. Sorry for giving you credit, Bradden. It came from Bridge. Come on. All right, let's see. Michael Bradden also says, what else here? Mike C, you said 2009. Okay, I'm pretty sure you got the year wrong. You need to verify before you post. Checking your link. In 2009, student loans non-dischargeability was claimed to provide a credit risk-free loan for the lender, averaging 7% a year. All right. What else have we got here? But he won't come and say that he was wrong. I don't think he'll return and say, oh, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Let's see. Bridge MCP says, from 1988 and on, witch hunt me ours. All right. I got another one more that I want. How many people has Trump paid? He usually doesn't pay. All right. Let's go ahead and play my last video. It's a piece that I did this morning. Let's get busy. Let's get busy with GMO, folks. All right. Back early, several years ago, and I swear this is not a plug. I'm just saying this because this is how I came to it. I was writing a book called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And I had to do a whole lot of research on economics and patenting and all that sort of stuff. And I ran across how patents work in these fields. And then realized that we had companies like Monsanto that were creating designer seeds and all these sort of things. And there are different options that they had. They had things like ways to turn seeds on and off. In other words, seeds that you plant, it grows one time. After it grows, you have to go to the ADM or Monsanto or whatever to get your seeds, right? Because they finally put capitalism into seeds. So what we have here is that one company would control the seeds for a particular brand of crop. And when that farmer uses that seed, it turns off. But I want to let you know that I think there are now restrictions on how you can set the seeds to turn off and on and that kind of stuff now. The technology is there. I'm not sure if it's legal. I haven't done any new research on it lately. But anyway, that was the intent, turning seeds on and off so that you have to go to the people who know how to breed the turned on seeds that can grow one time and put it in the field. All right. Well, these companies patented all of that. And in the process of patenting all of that, they've patented these things for several reasons. They've created seeds that resist certain types of herbicides, which mean as opposed to having to spot check herbicides, you could go from airplanes and just spray the entire crop. And for anything but that crop, the herbicide kills, right? Great for farming, right? High tech farming, man. You can throw some chemicals down. The plant continues to grow because it has a gene that is resistant to that particular herbicide, and everything around it dies. You don't need a lot of people to go out there and weed your plants or anything like that. I mean, all these great technologies, right? But also, to use these things, they force farmers to have to go ahead and buy the seeds. In the case of corn, they have to go to the manufacturer or the person who designed that seed and buy it every single time. A farmer can't have his thousands of acres of corn, save a few acres for seed, and replant it. He couldn't do that. And then you'd have trucks rolling around our farmlands. And as they go around our farmlands, they'll steal crop from the field. They don't go ahead and buy it in the store when that company sells it. They steal it out of the field. They go ahead and do a genetic test on it. And if they find that that genetic test comes back positive with their gene, they would go to the farmer and say, pay up or I'll take you to court. All right. Now, interestingly, the one thing these guys can't control are bees and the wind. And the other thing they can't control is the totality of life. So what would happen is pollen would blow from a farmer's field who decided to have a genetically modified product, whether that be corn or something else. And that pollen would be carried by bees or the air to that other farmer's land. And then that farmer next year's crop or even this year's crop would have the gene from the other farm. And what happens then? You're taken to, the Monsanto or IDM or whatever the company is goes ahead and they go off to the farmer and say, okay, pay up. And the farmer says, I'm not paying you anything. I grow my own corn and I plant it every year. And of course, now that he has polluted corn, the next year that he plants corn, it has the Monsanto or the gene inside of it, and Monsanto is going to say, pay up, you're using our technology that we have patented. One of the reasons in the book I spoke about patents being one of the most evil parts of capitalism is that it restricts people from doing things to move us forward under the pretext that we want to protect an inventor from, protect an inventor from, competition because he needs to recover his costs. Otherwise, inventions wouldn't occur. Of course, we've lived millennia without patents. But of course, again, when you're creating an economic system like capitalism or something, the people who design it, they design it for a particular group of people so that they have the advantage. More than opportunity cost, but the advantage and much more. So going back to the seeds, these guys go ahead now and sue the farmer. And we have several cases both in Canada and the United States. The one thing about it is every single time, or just about every single time, the farmer loses in court because we have a court system that really protects the corporatocracy and they have the patent law behind them. Or if the seed company believes that the farmer may have a case, they just drag it out, and eventually the farmer simply has to acquiesce and say, you know what, I bug out. I can't afford to fight these big food companies. But you know who can? Countries can. Countries can definitely fight these companies. And that's what Mexico is doing about genetically modified corn. And right now in Mexico, under the UMCA's new treaty, which is the subsequent treaty to I think what used to be called NAFTA, they decided to challenge. They don't want this genetically modified corn in their field. They don't want genetically modified masa. And you know, Mexico is a country of masa. The masa for your corn, the masa for your bollo, the masa for all these things. And they want to have their regular, good old corn that for those who believe in God, that God gave us. For those who just believe a nature thing, that nature gave us. So America is suing Mexico because Mexico refuses to accept the GMO corn. Mexico says, number one, we don't like the pesticides that the herbicides that you have to use because that herbicide can make you sick. Likewise, we just don't know the complete effects of food designed by you into the stomach of our Mexican people. And there may be something to that. I don't know if you notice how more so than ever, people have been having gastric issues in the United States. So what do we do in the United States? We give you genetically modified food. Some believe that genetically modified food has messed with our entire gastric system, digestive system. And to solve that problem that it causes, what have we done? We've then created yet another industry of medicines to hide those gastric and digestive problems, and on and on and on and on again. So the United States have sued Mexico in international courts, and they think America, we think we have a case. But the truth of the matter is, after this article that I posted in the newsletter, law is not on the U.S. side in the GMO corn fight with Mexico. That probably is going to be short-lived, but I think it's deeper than that. I think here in America, we have to start looking into ourselves, America proper, the people itself. Because what we do as corporations are doing what they're supposed to do under capitalism. The maximization of resources at all costs, right? Capitalism usually defined as the efficient allocation of resources. Amazing. Because notice it talks about the efficient allocation of resources. Nowhere does humanity come into play. Nowhere does humanity come into play. And when you have the maximization of resources, when you have genetically modified seeds that resist herbicides, so you change the gene so that you can efficiently move that crop, whether it be corn or some other, whether it is oranges or some other. Think about who benefits. And by the way, in their graded communities, those plutocrats can grow their own not genetically modified food. They can grow their not genetically modified animals that they want to serve, as they make our food system efficient with serving junk. Now, is that what we want? Is that what it's supposed to be? That's your choice.
We spend a lot of time.
That is your choice. That is your choice. Okay, we have the screen with a great graph from Bridge MCP. And if you take a look at it, you'll see Ronald Reagan had created quite a few jobs. Herbert Walker Bush, about 1/3 of what Reagan did. Clinton was the highest job producing president, even more so than Reagan. And that I wrote about all of this in my book. If you look at my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, I have that chart right up until Obama. And if you look at Obama created quite a few jobs as well. But if you take a look now, okay, who's that one? I get it. I kind of flipped, I guess. And if you take a look at Trump is the only president of the last 6 presidents that lost jobs, and you may want to throw it onto the pandemic. Well, you want to throw it. Thank you, Michael Rudnin, again. No. All of that, we always blame the president, who is president, and how he handles it. Donald Trump could have done exactly what brother Biden did, but instead he played like this stuff didn't exist, or played like you could use bleach and stick it into your veins, right? Just a dumb person that some people believe he'll be president again. No fear, guys. Go out there and do the work. All of us are doing the work. I am doing the work. You need to do the work. We all have to do the work to make sure we don't get a rapist, theft, thieving thug into the White House again. Because again, nothing good comes of that. And there are a lot of people that don't see it right now, but they'll see it in the long run. Because you know what? Ultimately, that'll show. Thank you so kindly for that little piece, because it's important. Look at the job creation. Biden outstrips everybody. Punto y final. All right, let's go to what else. Breed says, Egberto, EU policy, Parliament backs regulation of new GMOs amid warning from German watchdog, ongoing patents row. In a country where genetically modified organisms crops are planted on millions of acres, most Americans don't understand why so many in Europe are opposed to the technology. There is no simple answer. It's somewhat ironic that nearly an entire continent contests GMOs, since Belgium scientist Mark van Montagu is often referred to as the father of plant biotechnology. Regardless, Europe's anti-GMO stance has long been shaped by social and cultural norms, along with politically strong green movement and a regulatory process that lacks public confidence. And again, I think that's a good look. Nothing that corporations do should be trusted ever. Because again, the model of the corporate structure is the maximization of profits for the shareholders at all costs. Look, I didn't say that. The new father of capitalism, Milton Friedman, said it. And Smith talked about it. So let's be clear here. When I talk about you should always have checks and balances and regulations for corporations, and that is to protect corporations from the innate inhumanity of what a corporation represents. Because your value a corporation has no calculation for humanity in it. Remember that. We have to put the humanity into the laws that corporations must follow. There's nothing special about that, or I'm not saying anything that one should take any way other than appropriately. Okay? All right, let's see. Let's continue here. Let's see if I have anything else of import to read. I swear conservatives who want to troll, own the libs, and sadistic laugh about it as their country and world burns around them might be the end of us. No, Mike. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told the guy at my buddy Harry at KPFT. We don't talk like that. We make the change. We do what is necessary. And let me just tell you, all of you guys that are supporting politics done right, you know how much you guys have allowed me to do? By the conference that I go to, the books that I write, the blogs that I write, the videos that I'm able to sit down here 16 hours a day and put all of this together. Those of you supporting this endeavor are doing your part. Those of you sharing are doing your part. This is a complete effort that doesn't happen overnight. The one thing the right wing has is persistence. The reason why a Mike Cisak can be so confused is they hammer this stuff into Mike day after day after day after hour after hour after hour. If they did that to you as well, eventually you will crack. You may take a bit longer to crack than Mike did, but most people crack. I started listening to Limbaugh to do that psychological test. And even though I had full control of my senses, there are times that a repetition that came out of Limbaugh would accidentally come out of my mouth in a time of not thinking. But I could always recover because I have a thought process. So my brother, Senor Rodnin, they are not going to be the undoing of us. We are going to succeed despite, I repeat, we are going to succeed despite those who continue to be willfully ignorant. So, brother, let's stay positive. Whoops. All right, it's time for my ending of the show. We're a little bit late. Time for our ask. I want to ask everybody to consider supporting the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/support, where you'll find all the links to support the program. I want to also remind you that we're looking for patrons and newsletter subscribers. You can become a patron by going to politicsdoneright.com/patreon, politicsdoneright.com/patreon, and patron is spelled Patreon. People like that are scared, racist, and willfully ignorant. Yes, they are. But you know what? They can break out of every single one of those descriptors you said there. If you listen to my morning show, you can see in real time some of our right wingers changing in real time. So please visit our Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Also, please go ahead and consider getting our books. You can get our books at politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. One of the things that we're pushing right now is to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. If I could get 5 of them today out of those that are watching, would be great. Let's see. Michael says, Egberto, the mark of intelligence is the ability to entertain an idea without accepting it. That said, some horrendous ideas seem to act as mind viruses to change behavior once learned and internalized. The right-wing bubble is one example. Religion is another. I couldn't agree with you more. All right, folks, let's go ahead and support the program by becoming subscribers of our newsletter. I want to ask you kindly again, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and subscribe to our newsletter as a paid subscriber. You get a morning email with what the program is going to be that morning, and every so often you get some more blogs that I'm writing as we go along. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.